Okay, let's try to share. Let's share our screen now. See, I hope you guys will see this new link easily. I just hope so. Okay. Yes, you are welcome. Eat that destiny. Sufficient. You are welcome. Eat that destiny. God's time and the rest of them. I pray the rest of us will see that we've started another class. Thank you. I'll just switch to another network and I hope that this new network will work well. Let's remember to give it a thumbs up, please. That is necessary. Okay, I think my screen will not be blurred now and everything will go smoothly. So, advantages of learning through listening. What do you gain when you listen, when you learn by listening to others? One is increased academic understanding. You have increased academic understanding, improved communication skills. Listening to learning through listening greatly enhances a student communication skill. Intensive listening will enhance your ability to absorb and transmit information given during a communication exchange. That is very important. I think we should check it. Thank you all. Thank you all. I'm sorry for the break. The devil is a liar. We are now on Glow. We pray that Glow will be better since MTN decided to be fluctuating tonight. So, as a student, you are able to show your ability to listen and comprehend when you can interact with fellow students and the tutor or speaker. So, first advantage of listening or learning through listening is increased academic understanding. The second one is improved communication skills. The third one is ability to block out distractions. When you learn through listening, it helps you, it teaches you to block out what do we call it, distractions that are present where you are communicating. Because when you are already used to listening, when you are in a place, even if there is a noise going on, you'll be able to filter the content you are there to listen to from the noise. I have a very simple question there. I want you guys to answer it. Now, increase retention. A good listener will develop an increased ability to process and retain ideas and information heard. Large vocabulary development. Active listening exposes you to new words and vocabulary daily. When you encounter these words in the course of listening, you may decide to ask questions or look them up in the dictionary. While that all we've mentioned now are all advantages of learning through listening: large vocabulary development, increased retention, ability to block out distractions, improved communication skills, and increased academic understanding. Now we'll go to barriers. Barriers to effective listening. What are the things that can hinder effective listening? A number of factors could pose as barriers to effective listening, but we'll look at some of these barriers to enable identification and possible resolution. One is physical barrier. The way they used to ask questions under this physical barrier is very logical. You can read everything here word for word and you still not be able to answer the question they will ask under this physical barrier. So please be very attentive. I don't know if I can see that question from TMA. I don't know. Very logical question. In fact, you will be sweating to answer the question. There is a way they twisted it, but let's read it. Physical barriers. One major constraint to effective listening is hearing impairment. The reason why to answer that question is very hard is that you will see hearing impairment in the option. Then there is also physical barrier in the option. So it's somehow confusing which one to choose. Okay. So imagine you have a deaf student in your class and your teacher cannot use sign language. This spells disaster for the student because he will not be able to actively listen and participate in class except he is equipped with hearing aid. So the first thing under physical barrier is that we know that when we talk about physical barrier, we are talking about things like hearing impairment, when you have issue with your organ of hearing. So a noisy, non-conducive environment is another barrier. So under physical barrier, we have number one, hearing impairment. Those are the things you should note down under this physical barrier. I just pray that that logical question will not come out tomorrow. The first thing you should note under physical barrier is hearing impairment is one of it. Then the second one is a noisy environment. When there is noise everywhere, that is physical. That is a kind of physical barrier. So that is another barrier. Now let us look at two examples. Firstly, if your classroom is close to a busy road with its attendants, blaring horn and sirens from motorists, your listening will certainly be affected. Secondly, if you find yourself sitting at the back of the class during lectures and surrounded by a noisy group, certainly your listening will be affected. So to avoid this situation, always come early to classes so you can get comfortable sitting with little or no distraction. Let me ask us a simple question. What are the two examples identified under physical barrier, or the two types of physical barriers mentioned in your course material? There are more of them, but the two we have here in the material, let's mention them in the chat box. I want to see. I'm waiting patiently for you guys. I want to see you guys. Yes, the two major physical barrier mentioned in the course material. Yes. Let's hear from you guys. What are the two? Okay, hearing impairment and what do we call it? Noisy environment. Okay, you guys are following. That is good. So let's move on. So apart from physical barrier, we are looking at barriers to effective listening. The first one we'll talk about a physical barrier. Another physical barrier we have to a noisy environment and hearing impairment. The second one is physiological barriers. Please, it's very important to know the meaning of each of these barriers, because the way they ask questions on them is they'll give example and ask you to identify what type of barrier it is. That is how the question usually come out under this part, if those questions will come this year. So physiological barriers, when the mental or physical state of the individual is compromised, that is, the listener could be ill, tired, or sleepy. Imagine you had an all-night prayer vigil and you are still required to attend class the next day. Your listening will be greatly impaired, as you will be fighting sleep all through the lecture period. That is true. So when we say physiological barrier, then one that has to do with like your health coming in between your activeness in listening, then that is physiological, like tiredness, illness, like somebody that is sick, illness, or you are sleepy. All those ones are under physiological barrier. So when they cite an example that let's say Dora attended an all-night vigil, as a result of which she was unable to listen well in the class the next day, what kind of listening barrier is that? That is how they used to ask the question. What kind of listening barrier is that? That kind of barrier is physiological barrier. Then we have psychological barrier. There are two of them now, physiological and psychological. Now, psychological barrier, we view psychological barriers as thoughts or feelings that could cause distractions when we are trying to listen. This could be seen as a result of anxiety, preoccupation, egocentrism, or prejudice. So when you don't like the person speaking, probably because you are a white man, all this racism and the rest of them, or probably the person speaking is from Yoruba land and you don't like Yoruba speakers. All those kind of things, when they come into your listening and they hinder you from listening, they are all under psychological this thing. Or you're anxious. You understand? Then you have something in your mind, or something you're actually pondering on before you start the listening. So that is not hindering you from listening effectively. That is psychological barriers. Okay. Uh, one of the okay, let me give you a very clear example of psychological barrier. If, as a result of your previous performances in the courses you've written so far, if you are disturbed and it's kind of stopping you from reading well or listening to this ongoing class, because you are feeling like, the last class I listen, that kind of thing, that is psychological barrier. Your brain is already saying otherwise, so your listening will be impaired. So linguistic barrier is another one. This one is, language plays a very significant role in communication. Language plays a very significant role in communication. Okay, so if that is the case, a listener might be deprived of getting the full impact of a speech when there arises a disconnection or a disconnect between the speaker and listener based on linguistic challenges. Well, some of them might be when the words, like you are listening to a professor in science now, and you are in art class, and the person keeps saying big grammars that you've never heard of in your life. Thank you, Mr. Case. God bless you always. The rest of you should copy him now. Biko, you will send me data money. So, uh, linguistic barriers, when the speaker is speaking above your head and you don't really understand what the person is saying, maybe based on grammar, or maybe the person is using complex structures or sentences to deliver the speech. That is what we call linguistic barrier. When the person is speaking above your head, speaking outside your own understanding. Now, perceptual barriers is another one. The experiences of perceptual barriers arise when the speaker and the listener possibly view the same situation from varying points. You believe that reading for exam is important. No, let's say the speaker believes that reading for exam is important. While you that are listening, you already believe that there is no need to read. You have perceptual issue. No matter what the person is saying, your mind is already settled that reading for exam is not important. So perception, different perception, how this person views the situation is different from how you view the situation. So the experiences of perceptual barriers arises when the speaker and the listener possibly view the same situation from varying points. So I have a very simple question there. I will ask you guys now. Oh, sorry. My question is not complete. My question is not complete. So you answer this. I think I should delete the first one so that I don't give you guys expo. Okay, so then we have essential component of listening. But before we go to essential component of listening, you see now they've taught you almost everything about listening. What listening is, why you listen, what the different skills in listening and the different types of listening. They are not touching everything that I need to touch on listening, so that when they ask you any question on listening, you not say, and this one is not in the material. They've touched everything you need to know about listening. You are not the one to process it using your brain. Now, the last part we've talked about are barriers to listening, effective listening. And under that, we have the perceptual barriers, linguistic barriers, psychological barriers, physiological barriers. Learn the spelling of physiological and psychological. the two of them, they are looking almost, but the difference is there. Then we have the physical barrier, under which we talk about the the hearing impairment and noisy environment. So when they ask a question about your classroom being close to the roadside, what kind of a barrier is that? It is physical barrier, but if there is no physical barrier there, that is actually noisy environment barrier. So please note, that is how it's this place. They normally use mostly examples too. Now let's go to the last or the next thing under listening. The next thing under listening, which is essential component of listening. Listening might appear to be a simple process, but it is actually a complex one. It is made up of several core components as featured below. What are the components of listening? The number one thing you need to know about listening is that before you can listen to anything, you must receive. So as the sound is coming, your ears are receiving it. So the first level of listening, the first thing that happens when listening occurs is that there is a reception. You receive what the person is saying. This refers to the physical response process of receiving the sound filtering into the ears. It involves focusing on hearing first the message from the speaker and being able to filter out other intruding stimuli. Effective learning, it requires attentiveness and concentration at the hearing stage. So hearing or receiving is the first component of listening. That is the way they ask that question about the first component of listening is that receiving. That the only option they put there is receiving. Hearing is not there. So receiving is, you should remember that hearing or receiving will be the first thing that will happen before we say listening activity is ongoing. So comprehending or understanding, that is the second one. What you hear and you've received, you will need to understand it. The main purpose of listening is for understanding of what you are listening to. So at this point, you are able to truly understand the speaker's verbal message and other subtle mannerisms and unspoken cues. Comprehension is usually influenced by differences in our background, previous knowledge, perception, and experience. This is true. The way we are in class now, there are some of you that you are grabbing this thing because you already know the concept. All these things we are saying, they are not strange to you, they are not new to you, you know them. So it is easy for you to understand. But there will be some people here too that they are not relating to what we are saying. They are just trying their best. Okay, let me grab it for exam, So please. Okay, somebody said for all the barriers, we should use abbreviation. That is learning to mnemonics, I think. Okay, the barriers are not much. I think there are just four of them. Starting with the physical, we have so many P. Physical barrier is the first one. You understand? The first P, the second P, physiological, the third P, psychological, then L, which is linguistic barrier, and then another P, which is perceptual barriers. Wow, it's just like saying 3PLP. It's very short. Oh, sorry, very simple. When you say P raised to the power of 3, that is PPLP. So you learn that the first P will be what? P number 1 will be physical barrier. Let's list them. Yes, let's do a short class for physical barrier. The second P is what? I think that is physiological barrier. If I still get it, physiological barrier. Then we have another one which is psychological barrier, which is the third one. You should learn the spelling of psychological barrier. Oh, don't go write it in your mother's tongue. Then after that P, we have L. The L stands for what? Linguistic barrier. And the last P will stand for, I'm also typing you, so you should type your own, perception, which is perceptual barriers. Okay, Fine. I think you've done justice to that. Thank you for mentioning that. So we can go back to essential component of listening. The first component of listening is receiving. I have mentioned this statement like 3 times now. That is because it's a question, but it may not come out tomorrow. I don't know, but it's in the question bank. The first component of listening is receiving. Receiving. So comprehending or understanding, which is either comprehension or understanding, see the same thing. That is the second thing. The next component of listening is that you must remember what you listen to. Remembering is the third one. The process comes to bear after the listener has received messages through hearing, interpreted the message and understood the message, and then store it in his or her memory to enable future recall. So that is remembering. Then evaluating is the last, another one. Evaluating consists of judging or deciding the value of information received. Basically, the questions will be funny tomorrow. I know most of you will pass. If you know, if you have general knowledge, you will pass. So evaluating is another one. Judging or deciding the value of the information received. Then we have responding or feedback. The feedback, which happens at the end of the communication, helps the speaker to determine if his message has been received. So there is this question too, if I can recall it exactly. That one is verbatim. They just cut out this whole thing like this, and they ask you to fill in the blank space. I hope you guys are responding to the questions. I'm not seeing your chat, so only a few people are chatting. So this is the only way to determine the degree of success. Feedback is basically for the help of for the consumption of the speaker. It helps the speaker to check if what he has done is really successful. Okay, let's check the components of listening that we have done. Component of listening: hearing or receiving, which is HR; comprehending or understanding, which is CU. So I think we can be writing the components now. Components of listening, effective listening. Component of effective listening. We have can talk about the HR, which is hearing or receiving. We can talk about the CU, comprehending or understanding. We can talk about remembering, and of course evaluating and feedback. We have R, which is remembering. We have E, which is evaluating. We have RF, which is responding or feedback. So you guys should note that. You should note that. It's very important. Okay, so what do we have now? Steps to becoming an effective listener. The act of or skill of effective listening requires practice as well as developing an awareness of what is happening in and around you when you are listening to others. You must understand what is involved in the listening process and develop the necessary techniques required for effective listening. There are a good number of ways you can listen, or you can become an effective listener. First of all, be prepared to listen. If you are not prepared for listening, if you are not prepared to come here tonight and listen to what we are doing, you will not be able to get the details. So, first of all, be prepared to listen. Concentrate on the speaker's content and context. What does this mean? While listening, you should keep in mind the background and theme of speech. This strategy will trigger residual knowledge and enable you to absorb the content quickly and effectively. That way, you will be more in tune with the speaker, picking out keywords, phrases, and emotions. Well, if you are in this class tonight now, and you thought you are doing GS 103, you do not know that what we are doing is NOU 107, then you will not be able to get the best out of the class, because you need to know the speaker's content, like what I'm showing on my screen now, and then the context. Even just knowing the topic we are treating alone can help you check, what do I know about listening already? Then what are the new things I'm learning now? You will now be judging, you'll be measuring the two together, evaluating the two together to know what new thing you will need to learn from listening or add to your knowledge on listening. Ask questions when the time is right. This means it's not any time you can ask questions. You should ask the right questions at the right time. This is quite different from interruption. When you are following the progress of a speech or lecture, you should be able to determine the appropriate time to interject with your questions. Questioning enables you to have clarification of what has been said so far. This is necessary so that you can find out more, as well as test your understanding. So the next thing is also take notes. It's still the same thing we talk about under the essential component. This is now also talking about take notes, steps in becoming an effective listener. Take notes. Note taking is a study activity that involves writing down information given by another through speech. Even if you do not read this material tonight, if this question come out tomorrow, I don't think you should fail it. There are some things that are just general knowledge that even if you do not read material, you should be able to answer them. So in fact, so many people have not given my video a thumbs up. That is bad. So many people are online and they have not even liked the video yet. That's bad. So now, note taking methods. Note taking methods. This Cornell method, they like asking questions on it, but all you need to know about Cornell method that is a double column, a two-column method of note taking. So note taking method, we are now leaving listening a bit. We want to move into what we call note taking. You'll be wondering that what is note taking doing in NOU 107, since we've done it in JS 101. But what is done on note taking in JS 101 is slightly different from what NOU 107 is going to do on note taking. But let's quickly take a short recap on how to be an effective listener. Take notes. Ask questions when the time is right. Concentrate on the speaker's content and context. Be prepared to listen. There is just as simple as that. I think 4 of them. Prepare to listen, concentrate, ask questions, and take notes. But we want to look at taking notes as a topic on its own. How do we take notes? Note taking can be done in various ways. You can take linear notes where your key points and ideas are written in simple and short sentences or in form of a list. Or you can take notes in form of diagrams where you link the different ideas as concept maps or spider diagrams. The first method of note taking we'll be looking at is the Cornell method. The Cornell method is a special form of note taking drawn up based on 2 unequal columns. 2 unequal columns. Just know that when it comes to double column or 2 unequal column, we are talking about the Cornell method because we don't know how they will ration the questions tomorrow. So the narrow left side is used to enter the cue or the keyword or concept, while the wider right side is meant for short description or notes and recording of ideas learned. It's just like when you are using table, you understand? Then the table that you want to use for is, I think we have those kind of tables in our materials that they will say word definition. I think we've seen one even in GST 103 when we're doing that. So that is Cornell method. Just remember, it's a method of taking notes that is drawn up based on 2 unequal. That 2 unequal columns is what you should not forget under Cornell method. We have the outline method. This method involves the use of dash or indented outline. Here, you write and identify your topics and subtopics by indenting the text and numbering the lines or using bullet point. This is the common one most of us use when you are jotting, when you are taking notes. This is a general and most people use. Then we have the mapping method. The mapping method is done as a diagram that gives a graphical representation of the ideas and concepts from a lecture. Graphical representation, mapping method. I know that there is one question like that too, that is mapping. If you don't know it now that is mapping, it's likely you fail it too. So you better grab it. I have a question for us here. Let's try to attempt it. We have the charting method. As the name implies, the charting method is actually a table or rows and columns. So a table of rows and columns. It gives room for chronological comparisons or contrast of ideas and topics. The top row is used to classify the concept, while descriptions are written in the rows below. The charting method. We have the sentence method. The sentence method requires that you write every topic or new thoughts and concept on separate lines that are often numbered. What other method do we have? That is the end. Let's take a short recap of note-taking methods we have. We have the kernel method, the outline method, the mapping method, the charting method, and then the sentence method. So I think we can use this mnemonym to hold them. If we started with the kernel method, which is C. After the kernel method, we'll talk about the outline method. Then we'll talk about the charting method and then the sentence method. So if you can use that COCS to hold it, you should be able to recall them tomorrow. So it's very simple. Kernel method, outline method. Okay, yeah, yes, outline method, charting method, and sentence method of note taking. 4 methods of note taking discussed in your material. So okay, this is discussion from whoa. Finally, we are done with listening. Wonderful. We've done one thing tonight, which is very important. The next thing we are going into is speaking. Another important thing in this material, which you will need as an ODL student. Don't forget everything we've done under listening, especially the barriers to listening, the the way to listen effective, how to become an effective listener, and then the method of note taking that we've done there. Speaking is a fundamental part of human communication. It is an activity we engage in daily. Oftentimes, we speak much more than we read, write, or listen. As a student, you are at an advantage if you have effectively developed your speaking skills. Okay. All right, let's test ourselves on that short question. You can describe speaking as a means of conveying information or expressing one's thoughts and feelings in spoken or verbal language. I don't think, even if we did not read this material tonight, if you see this kind of statement tomorrow, you should know that they are actually talking about speaking. I have a simple classwork there. Okay, let's go straight to what we have under speaking. Speaking as an essential study skill in ODL. Speaking is one of the key study skills that support effective listening. Let me now expose the reason why we started from listening, from listening, reading, all those skills like that. The reason was that last semester I focused their attention on module 1, where we talk about history of NOU. We talked a lot about that history. We completed module 1. Then I said they should go and read the rest themselves in preparing for exam. So when they got to exam, almost 50% of the questions were under listening, speaking, and all these skills that we're treating tonight. Only few questions came out from all those history. They just focused everything on listening, speaking, and the rest of them. So it was not like I was so pained that last semester, although they did not fail, but I think we started with the middle. Then we can go to the front or start from the beginning. But let's make sure we deal with this. I've noticed that over the semester they like touching this part of the material. So let's not joke with it. That is the main reason why I said we will start from this place tonight. So speaking is one of the key study skills that support effective learning. Having a good speaking skill is not about showing off your sophisticated diction or bebadazing faults with your presence. Okay, rather, it is your ability to effectively convey to your listeners your thoughts and ideas effectively. There is a question they used to ask here that if so and so is speaking so high that I don't know, like when somebody is using exaggerative word like very big grammar to speak, is the person communicating? That is the way they ask that question, but the answer is no. The person is not communicating, because when you are speaking above your listener, everything you are saying is far above your listener because you are using too much grammar and they can't understand you. Then you are just speaking in jargons because your audience can't understand what you are saying. So that is not communication. So that kind of speaking is actually not a good one. So when you are able to convey your message, fine, then you are a speaker. Why then does the term speaking often cause anxiety and panic attacks in a lot of you? They're asking you a question that why is it that when they say you should come and speak in public, you feel somehow? How to be an effective speaker? That is what we are going to talk about now. Maybe after now, you'll be able to face your fears of not wanting to speak in the public. To be an effective speaker, it is expected that you should know the basics of the language of communication. Your grammar and linguistic competence should be acceptable to your audience, which means let's assume that I'm unable to communicate well in English, and tonight I need to take this class. I'm going to feel somehow. In fact, I would have judged myself in my heart. I will be like, in the way I will feel, I won't be able to express myself well. I will just that kind of feelings that when they call you to come out, especially probably you have an audience that are far eloquent than you are, and you have to face them in that same language. That is a big case. Now, how to be an effective speaker. We have done how to be an effective listener. Now, how to be an effective speaker. You should know, anticipate, and engage your audience. That is the first thing. You notice that time to time I keep dropping questions there in the chat box. It's not like I cannot continue reading and just teaching and go online, but you need to engage your audience when you are speaking. That is to show that your audience are following you, because you are not speaking to yourself. You are speaking to some people. You should have a purpose or reason for speaking. At the being tonight, we don't have NOU to deal with. I just gather you guys say let's be gisting. You understand? Then the thing will not go smoothly, because why are we here? Most of you ask the question. You want to ask the question, why are we here? What is the purpose of staying here? So you must have a purpose for speaking before you speak. The first one is you must know and engage your audience. You must have a purpose for listening, for speaking. Then you must be prepared for the speech. This could be by acquiring items or devices that will aid your speaking. A situation where note and visual aids like projectors are needed, such should be provided, etc. So that is part of preparation for the speech. As an effective speaker, you should use good and acceptable language. That is, your choice of words should be appropriate to your audience. For example, you should not use verbal words or language when addressing high school students. Don't speak above your audience head. You should endeavor to repeat key ideas or concepts discussed to enable better understanding and assimilation. Then you should make your speech more conversational and less complex. The people you are talking to should feel like you guys are discussing. Now, let's go over them again. What is the first one? Know your audience. The second one, have a purpose for speaking. The third one, preparation. The fourth one is that you must speak within the comprehension, uh, is it core or level of your audience. Speak within the assimilation rate of your audience. Then you must repeat key ideas. That is the next one. And finally, you must make your speech conversational. Those are the ways to speak effectively. So, types and purposes of speaking and its related situation. We have informative speaking. Informative speaking, like the name implies, is meant to inform the listener. There is this question like this exactly in the question, whether I think that question bank or so. I don't know the year I saw that question. But dash, like the name implies, is meant to inform the listener. That is what we are doing now. Now, it describes a situation where the sole purpose of the speech is to share fact-based knowledge by describing, demonstrating, and explaining issues, and in so doing, educate you on a particular topic without any personal bias attached. For instance, a chemistry lecture delivered via the non-FM will certainly, how people know that we have non-FM? Those of you in mass com, I hope you know that we have non-FM. Okay, we certainly have the attribute of informative speaking, or when you are narrating an event that just happened to your friend who just walked in. Oh, this just hinted me. I've forgotten. I asked you guys to do something today after your exam, and you should submit in the group. Nobody has submitted. I'm going to come up with a fine for that. You are meant to record or cover a story in your center today after the exam, but none of you has done that assignment yet. So let's see what will happen. It is important for you to note that, and in informative speaking, you do not take sides or sway your listeners to accept your point of view. Instead, you should provide enough details on the topic so that your listener will be adequately educated. So in informative speaking, you are giving them ideas. It's not like you are saying, oh, am I correct or am I not correct? You understand? You are being firm, you are giving them, you are kind of passing valid facts and information to them. So persuasive speaking is another one. Informative, direct, is teaching you, is giving ideas about something. While, okay, come again on what? While persuasive speaking, okay, what we've just done is, what we just finished speaking is, oh, sorry, talking about rather, is informative speaking, the type of speaking where you pass knowledge to your listener. You pass knowledge to your listener and you'll be firm. You understand? They are all, the informative speaking is all about giving facts to your listener. Now, persuasive speaking, from the word persuasion, you should already know what you are expecting in persuasive speaking. In persuasive speaking, it is basically meant to persuade. It is meant to, you don't need to cram much on it. Persuasive speaking is meant to persuade. Persuasive speaking is meant to persuade. It's as simple as that. In persuasive speaking, the onus is one of you as a speaker to, the onus is on you as a speaker to influence your listener. I think I've seen this in, even in TMA this semester, but not in your own TMA, in masters. In TMA for masters, they ask this question, that in that speaking, the onus is on you as a speaker to influence your listener. So you should prepare that the answer is persuasive speaking. Now, the basic ideology used here is to influence people enough to change characteristics that initially would seem naturally ingrained and unchangeable. You are trying to persuade someone, to accept your own predict or so. Now, entertainment speaking. When your primary purpose of speaking is to get your listener to relax and enjoy the occasion, you are actually in an entertainment also. You are giving an entertaining speech like the one that MC and the rest of them do in occasions. The one that MC and the rest of them do in occasion. Now, learning through speaking. Okay, let's go back to the types of speaking again. Entertainment speaking, persuasive, and informative. Just three of them. And we can just say IPE. And the IPE means informative, persuasive and entertainment speaking, IPE, informative, persuasive and entertainment speaking. Then how do you learn? Through speaking. Speaking is one of the essential skills you require to become successful in your academic pursuit and learning environment. There is an urgent need for you to develop this skill because you will need it in almost every area of your study. The importance of a well-developed speaking skill cannot be overemphasized when you are living and studying in a culturally and linguistically diverse nation like Nigeria. Well, all those ones are just blah blah blah. Now, a continued practice of your speaking skill will equally improve your communication, enhance your confidence, and your ability to understand other people. So that is very good. That is learning through speaking. You need to learn through speaking because it's actually an important part of your learning. Okay, I have a very short test here for you guys to see if you guys are actually following. Oh, that is not what I want to type. Sorry, I need to remove that. Yes, something. A continued practice of your. Okay. Okay, so you have it there. Challenges you may encounter while speaking. What are the things that are likely to come as a challenge when you are speaking? Inhibition or anxiety. What does this mean? This is the most common problem associated with speaking in a classroom environment. Perhaps because speaking will require some degree of physical exposure to an audience. So you are anxious. Hey, what if I say one thing that isn't correct and you start laughing at me? How will I cope? You know all those stuff now. That is anxiety. You are worrying for nothing. So some of you shy away from it. You worry about making mistakes, facing criticisms, or the attention that will be drawn to you. So that is number one, anxiety or inhibition. We have lack of knowledge of the subject matter. Imagine you as a mass comm student being called to a meeting of science students and you are asked to talk on robotic engineering. You are asked to talk on robotic engineering. You are already, in fact, even before they invite you, you're already dead in yourself because you don't know anything about robotic engineering. I'm asking you about robotic engineering. So something will something will do something that day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, sir. Now, lack of knowledge of subject matter. Lack of knowledge of subject matter, which means you don't have an idea of what you want to teach or speak about. Accent or mother tongue interference, like the Yoruba people that don't know how to pronounce H very well, like my Hausa people that don't know how to pronounce P and I think it's P that will say Fifu and the rest of them. My Igbo people too. So all of us in Nigeria, we have mother tongue. So when you dwell much on that my accent is not good. You know, well, English is not our mother's tongue. So we're all trying. So if you are dwelling on my mother's tongue or whatever, you don't want to speak in public. So the first barrier you have, or the first thing that usually what are we actually dealing with now? Barriers, I think, challenges, not barriers, but challenges to effective speaking. Anxiety is one of them. Worrying, and what are the things that causes worrying? You are worried about making mistakes, about facing a large audience or whatever, about people criticizing you. The other one is when you don't have knowledge of the subject matter you want to treat, and then your accent or your mother's tongue interference. The performance of most student speakers is affected by the mother's tongue interference on the target language. It is prominent in Nigeria as our cultural diversity makes for a multitude of variations on our speaking styles, intonations, and inflections. We tend to unconsciously think first in our local dialect before translating to English. That is absolutely correct. Now, essential component of speaking. Why? Before we go to essential component of speaking, let's go back to those things that can pose a challenge to you. We have just three of them: inhibition or anxiety, lack of knowledge of the subject matter and your mother's tongue or accent. Now, essential component of speaking. There are essential components that you have to put in place for effective speaking. Oh, sorry, Oluwaseun Ruth. Of course, everything we do on YouTube, every live program we have on YouTube is automatically recorded. After the class, just click on the same link, you'll be able to watch it. So, what are the components? We have grammar. Grammar is an essential part of language study. Grammar is an essential part of language study. It comprises of the way the sentences of a language are constructed. The way the sentences of a language are constructed. So that is grammar for you. The proper use of grammar is essential in speaking. Grammar is an important part of speaking and writing. You are advised as a student to keep it simple. Keep it simple. Your grammatical errors and imperfections stand out, especially when you try to over impress people. Yes. When you want to do over sabi, that is when, yes, laugh at my people. We don't have to call the letter H. We used to call it age, like the age in terms of your age, your whether you are 10 years or whatever, in terms of how old you are. So we have quite a lot of everybody in Nigeria. You have your own. Even you Hausa people, your own is there. I beg, don't come and laugh at anybody here. So vocabulary is another thing. We have grammar. We are talking about component of speaking now. We have grammar, then we have vocabulary. My people don't know how to pronounce letter V too. We usually call it F. So we interchange it. So we can describe vocabulary as an individual stock of words. You can describe vocabulary as an individual stock of words. Wow, that's okay. I have two questions for us. Let's see if we can try them. Okay, so first one, grammar. Second one, vocabulary. Then pronunciation. Pronunciation is basically the way a word is pronounced or articulated. It's basically the way a word is pronounced or articulated. You are encouraged to be mindful of your pronunciation. Because wrong pronunciation will definitely lead to misunderstanding. Somebody will be getting different thing from what you are saying. When you pay attention to your pronunciations, you are able to produce distinctively or distinctly clear words. Why? We have the next one, fluency. Your ability to easily speak a language while maintaining a reasonable speed and accuracy is what we describe as fluency. A speaker fluent in a particular language has a good repertoire of diction. As such, his breaks and pauses while speaking is greatly minimized. So, fluency is your ability to easily speak a language while maintaining reasonable speed and accuracy. Becoming a confident speaker. Okay, we are done with that. Under that part, let's take a short recap of what we've done under that part. The part that started with grammar is actually component of speaking. What are the components of speaking? Your grammar is one, your vocabulary, that is GV, vocabulary, P, pronunciation, and F, fluency. So we have G, grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and I think fluency. So you should use that to grab it. It's very important. Now, how do you become a confident speaker? One, integrity. A good speaker tells the truth. It's as simple as that. A good speaker tells the truth. He believes in himself and in what he has to say. A good speaker will share his idea or pass information in a truthful and supportive manner. In a truthful and supportive manner. That is a very important point to note. In a truthful and supportive manner. So I want you guys to answer this short question. Be yourself. That is the next thing. What are we treating now? To remind you, we are currently treating how to become a confident speaker. Becoming a confident speaker. One, integrity. Always say the truth. Number two, be yourself. Don't go and learn how one American actor used to speak in movie. Then when you want to speak in public, you start using that. You just go and fumble and people will laugh at you. So be yourself. A confident speaker is relaxed and at home with his personality. He thinks about how best to share his ideas and experiences, carrying everyone along on the process. Be yourself. Focus more on contributing rather than seeking approval. When you are speaking, you should be let your mind dwell on how you can put in your best effort and not seek for unnecessary attention. Work on letting your audience or listener feel your impact and marvel at your intelligence. That is, you see, these things are very important. It's not only because you want to pass the exam. These are things you should know. As a learned person, as somebody that they will say the person has gone to school. So beyond examination, make sure you use, like I mentioned at the beginning of this class, this is a course you should read again after you are done with exam. One, it helps you to understand NOU very well. And two, helps you to succeed as a student in NOU. Now, practice often. It's very simple. Practice makes perfect. Know your content. Study well and go through your key points. Imagine we telling you that you'll be the one to take us on the course we're having tomorrow, as in the tutorial, and you did not read anything and you don't know anything about the course. So you come to the stage and start blovating. Now that kind of thing causes embarrassment and your fears will catch up with you. So know your content. Know what you want to really talk about. And I think after that, we are done with speaking. But let's take that part again. What are the things we've talked about under being a confident speaker? To be a confident speaker, you must have integrity, you must be yourself, you must focus more on contributing rather than seeking approval, you must practice often and know your content. Having done that, we are done with speaking. In conclusion, speaking is one of the key study skills that support effective learning. It is the second of the four basic language skills. Let's refresh our brains. What are the four basic language skills we talked about at the beginning of this class? Yes, I will be expecting your answers while I move on to listening. Now I want to talk about reading. These are things you will need as a student. So reading is the next thing. But what are the four language skills? They are the things we have been talking about actually. We've talked about listening, which is the first one. Then speaking. Now we are going to reading and writing, the last one. Thank you. So reading. What are we going to do under reading? What are we going to do under reading? How can I read? What is reading? Reading as an essential study skill. The word reading has been a part of our vocabulary as long as we can remember, but we never really look into it into the technicality of the word and its action. So what exactly is reading? Some will say reading is when you read text, but this explains nothing actually. A better explanation can be put this way. Reading is the ability to understand words contained in a document and make use of the knowledge for personal growth and development, according to Dadzi in 2008. I have a very short classwork for us. Let's test ourselves. Very short one. Okay, so that is reading. Reading is an essential skill that involves one's perception and thought. In fact, this is the one they normally ask in the exam. Dash is an essential skill that involves one's perception and thought. So what is the answer? What is the answer to that? Okay, so let's see. For your reading to be effective, you must comprehend what you have read. You've done this in just 101. The main purpose of reading is comprehension. So two of them go hand in hand. In reading, you use your eyes, but the blind or visually impaired will use the hands on the braille. So, the braille is a system of printing in which the letters of the alphabet and numbers are printed as raised dots that can be read with the fingers by people who are blind or partially sighted. So, when you see the system of braille tomorrow, they are talking about people with eye defect, blind or partially blind or whatever. Now, as a student, you must read both recommended and additional text. The aim is to improve your academics and also to broaden your vocabulary. When you do this, your speaking, listening, and writing skills will equally improve. Reading, therefore, is a highly valuable skill, an activity you must undertake for your success. Imagine you not reading and you are writing exams. I don't know how you will be. Oh. So I have another question there. Why do we read? That is the next question. Why do we read? We read for different reasons and purposes. It could be for pleasure, information, or general understanding. So we read for pleasure, we read for information, we read for general understanding. Note that pleasure, information, general understanding. Now, reading for pleasure, what does that mean? It also referred to as independent, leisure, or recreational reading. So if you are asked tomorrow, that is also known as independent, leisure, or recreational reading. That is reading for pleasure, the one you do at your own time, at your own free will. Like your friend just told you that there is one romantic novel that just came out. You get the novel and you start reading it for pleasure. That is reading for pleasure. A leisure reader's purpose is a leisure reader's purpose is simply geared towards entertainment. You read to savor the language, ideas, images, conflict, and its resolutions. Well, reading for information. This one means that you want to get something from what you are reading. So, reading for information will involve a more articulated and attentive reading. Reading for information will involve a more articulated and attentive reading. You are expected to be attentive enough to understand the information. Now, reading for information will help you to do the following: identify features of the text, like the topic, titles, subheadings, and the graphics. Recognize the structure of the text, like where we have definition, whether it is cause and effect, comparison, contrast, or chronology. That is in order of occurrence. Now, summarize and pre summarize and paraphrase the text, identify and organize important points, and then understand the author's purpose. This is what reading for information will help you to do. So in case they ask in fill in the blanks tomorrow and say which of the following is not a purpose of reading for information, you should know that reading for information requires you to identify features of the text, recognize the structure, summarize and paraphrase the text, identify and organize important points, understand the author's purpose. Study reading. This is the one we use in school. Study reading is a form of reading for information. It entails a more serious and intense reading. The purpose of study reading is for you to gather more detailed information from text and to be able to remember the main ideas, facts, and opinion expressed, as well as being able to make meaningful connections or associations among them. Now, reading for general understanding, which is the third one. Don't forget, we said you can read for pleasure, you can read for information, and you can read for general understanding. Now, this will involve reading to get general overview of the text. You can apply it to any text as it is not limited to any particular form. Well, below are different types of reading or different approaches to reading that you may adopt based on your purpose of reading. The type of reading style you will use is totally dependent on your purpose of reading. Why you want to read will determine the style of reading you will adopt in the reading. So we have previewing, skimming, scanning, detail reading. In your GS 101, you've talked about skimming and scanning, but here we have previewing, skimming, scanning, detail reading. Oh, what is previewing? In previewing a text, you get a general information of what the text is about without reading the whole text. In the idea of skimming and scanning, which one of them is this one close to? Yes, I have a question there. If you should take it from the perspective of skimming and scanning, previewing is close to which of them? And I have a question also there in the chat box. Let's engage. Previewing is close to, is it skimming or scan? Okay, somebody says skimming. You skim to get general overview. Well, but it's just close to it. But I think skimming is even more serious than previewing. Like when you want to preview, you can just check only the table of content, and you already know what the whole thing is all about, what they want to talk about. Now, skimming is a selective reading method where you read only the main ideas within a passage to get an overall impression of the content of a reading selection. The purpose of skimming is to extract only the essence or the final point of the text. That is skimming. While scanning is the one that involves quick reading with quick eye movement, focusing only on locating specific information. The meaning of scanning has not changed in any of the two courses we have heard of it. In GS 101 2, this is the meaning. Your eye is moving fast, you are looking for a specific information. Note, skimming is reading a text quickly to get a general idea of meaning. Skimming involves a thorough overview of a text and implies a reading competence. Skimming is quite a fast process. It can only take a few minutes to complete a chapter of a book when you are skimming. The last one is detail reading. In detail reading, this is a more focused and concentrated reading. You read a text slowly and carefully in detail reading because you want to get the details. Now, detail reading will allow you understand what you are reading thoroughly and also monitor your comprehension. Now, reading strategies. Reading strategies. So, for your reading to be efficient and effective, you must apply certain strategies. These strategies will help you understand what you read before, during, and after reading. So, you should employ prior knowledge in assessing the topic you are about to read. You then make predictions about its probable meaning. Next, you preview, skim, and scan. And no, please. We need to read this place very carefully. They ask questions a lot, yes, about what do you do. I think those of you that did TMA yourself, you will see that they ask questions from this place in TMA. Even this semester, questions came on this part in the TMA. I think I will need some time to rest. I'm somehow exhausted. What are we going to do now? Are you sure we'll not take a break like this? I will still have writing to deal with. After writing, we'll go to assessment. It's very important. Let me just tell you the part you must not do without reading. Make sure you do not fail to read assessment. Very important. Learner support service. That one is, by the way, you can add it to it, but make sure you, after this place we are reading, make sure you read assessment method in ODL, where they are talking about the formative assessment, the summative assessment, and so on and so forth. So you need to read that place too, in addition to this place we've read. Then you can skim or scan module 1, history of ODL. Well, they ask question on correspondent, the stages of ODL, the way ODL has evolved. They have questions on that part too. where we'll talk about the correspondence stage, the radio stage, the television stage, and the CBT, which is a computer stage. You have stages like that in ODL. That one is in mode one. You may just brush that place too, so that you know the stages of the involvement of ODL, how it all involved, starting from the first stage, going to the which is I think the correspondence stage should be, I don't know if it's the first stage rather, but I know we have correspondence stage, the radio and television stage, the computer stage, and so on. So uh I think we will likely take a break. I'm seriously exhausted, but I want us to finish reading. So let's finish reading so we know we have writing left. Even if I do not take you editing again, go and read writing on your own. Go and read. I will not advise you guys to focus on summary yet. Before you go to summary, make sure the material is not that long. It's just 130 pages. If you remove all those irrelevancies there, it's just 100 pages. So I will not advise you to go and start reading summary now. Make sure you read writing too first. Read assessment, then you can use summary to read about the mode one under those correspondence stage and the rest of them. You can read those ones from summary, but you see the ones you must read from the material. Make sure you read assessment from material too, and writing. But we'll finish reading now. Okay, let's continue. What do I do before reading? Now you carry a book. We want to learn strategies of reading now, and this will help you if you apply these things to your reading habit. It will help you improve greatly, especially your level of comprehension. Okay, before I read, when I carry a book now that I want to read, what are the things I should do before reading? You should employ your prior knowledge. Employ prior knowledge. What you already know about the topic that the book wants to talk about. That is the first thing you have to employ. You hold the book now. The book is talking about discipline. What do you know about discipline already? That is the first thing. What do you know about discipline? That is the first thing. So you should employ prior knowledge in assessing the topic. That is before reading. You should make predictions about its probable meaning. So after you've employed your prior knowledge of discipline, then you should predict, what is this book likely going to tell me about discipline? Okay, is it going to tell me about this aspect of discipline, like maybe how to keep money, if it's a book about money, or how to, so you start predicting what the book is likely going to. When you start reading a book, you're doing all this, your reading will be smooth. You will enjoy the book. No matter how complex the book is, you will enjoy it because your mind is already employed from the beginning into the book. So employ your prior knowledge, bring in your prior, what you know already about the subject matter, then make predictions about the subject matter, and then preview, which is what we have learned already under reading, that there are stages of reading. You preview, you skim, you scan, and then you can do detailed reading. So you first preview the book, probably just checking the table of content and see what the book is all about generally. Then you can skim the book. You know what skimming is now. Get the overview, or even scan the book. You can probably do the detailed reading. So all that is done before reading. One, employ your prior knowledge, make predictions, and then preview, skim, and scan. Now, when you start reading, during reading, what should you do? You should evaluate your understanding and comprehension of the text. You can do this by questioning, thinking, and reflecting on the ideas and information found in the text. So during reading, you question yourself, you think about the topic, what the topic has now given you in connection to your own prior knowledge and everything. You start questioning, you start thinking about it, then you reflect on the ideas. So that is during reading. During reading is when you question, you think, and reflect during reading. Before reading, you employ your prior knowledge, you predict, you make predictions, and then you preview, you skim, and scan. That is before. During reading, that is the reason why I'm stressing this thing. During reading is the one you question, you think, and you reflect. What happens after reading? You should reflect on the ideas and information you have gathered. You can relate what you have heard, sorry, what you have read rather, to your own experiences and your prior knowledge. So after you've read the book, now you kind of understand the concept the book is trying to explain about discipline. You will now go back to what you knew about discipline before and then create some relationship between them. So you clarify your understanding after reading, and then you extend your understanding in a very creative and critical way after reading. Basically, the way they used to ask this question is uh, relating when you reflect, relate to your own experience, clarify understanding, and extend understanding. That is the process under what? After reading. Very important after reading. Then we have another important thing, the SQ3R. Very important. This place, please, let's take it slowly. We won't rush it because some of you used to think when they say 3R, you just think it's 3 and then R. No, we have R, R, R. And it's important for us to know what they mean, the SQ3R method of reading. This is a method you have to adopt when you are reading too, which will help you in your reading. Well, a good driver will not drive the same way or maintain the same speed on every road. The same applies to reading. Depending on your purpose, you can choose a reading strategy that will be complementary to your purpose of reading. For the purpose of this course, we will explain the SQ3R method of study reading. And this method is a method, the SQ3R is an acronym for the 5 stages of reading process that we have. The reading process, the first one is survey the book, question, then read, recite some things, and review what you learned. So the way they ask it is, they may say the second R in the SQ3R means what? So which means you have to know it orderly. Survey, question, read, recite, and review. Let's say it. No, sorry, we're not in Zoom. All right, try to say it to yourself like 3 or 4 times. Survey, question, read, recite, review. The one you should try to understand very well is the arrangement of the R's. The first R is read, then you recite, then you review. The last R is review. The first R is read. The R in between is recite. So survey, question, read, recite, and review. SQ3R. Survey, question, read, recite, and review. And each of them has its own meaning. Before you start reading, you survey the material. How do you survey the material? Look for the title, look at the title, subtitles, introduction, blah, blah, blah. Go to the headings and subheadings, read through the chapters outline, check the reading aids, the footnotes, the end of the chapters, and then read first paragraph and last, and so on and so forth. And then do not forget to take a look at the pictures there. Then the question is when you start, okay, your reading will be more memorable if you question the materials. Like, okay, why did the material say this? What is the meaning of this in the material? Why is this thing like this? Why is it not like this? When you question like that, your reading is more, you know, memorable. Like you likely remember what you read more than the one that you did not question the book. Now, think about specific questions that you would like to find answers to or for in the material. Read any focus questions at the end of the text. Turn headings and subheadings into questions. Create questions from learning objectives, chapter summary, or key point. Create questions for each paragraph. Now, these are things you need to know. Like you need to know, like not just for exam, you need to know them. So please, the first R, which is read, you know what reading means now. You concentrate and read through the book, everything that is there to read, you read. Then recall, which is recite. Recite means to be able to recall. At the recall stage, you are expected to go through all that you have read so far and then try to answer the questions that you had written down earlier when you were questioning. You can write down a summary. So at the stage of recalling is where you produce summary. Make notes of what you remember or a summary of the main ideas in your own words. At this stage, you should try to associate what you have read with life experiences. Try and answer the questions you had earlier developed yourself during the question. The question stage. Then tell someone about it. What you teach someone, you are likely not going to forget. I have to tell you guys, what you teach someone, you are likely not going to forget. is very valid. Then the last one, which is review. All you need to remember here under the SQ3R is that it stands for survey, question, read, recite, then review. Now, review is the final step in the SQ3R process. You should review what you have read after your reading or after your study. Check the note you had made against the original text to confirm accuracy. So they gave us some stages there. Advantages of learning through reading. Vocabulary expansion. That is one of the things. When you read a lot, you have enough vocabulary. That is what that means. Improved language skill. Exposure to well-written works will have a noted effect on your language skills. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. With the expansion of your vocabulary, you observe that you will gradually experience an improvement in your writing and speaking capabilities. Your subconsciously sorry you subconsciously absorb details on how to structure sentences when you read enough. There is a question that I used to say that they used to ask on extensive reading. There is one question, but I can't recall the question exactly. But there is a question that the answer is extensive reading. Extensive reading. I can't really get the question now. So, expansion of knowledge base. Books enable the rapid transfer of knowledge from one person to another. Books enable the rapid transfer of knowledge from one person to another. It's belong I tested you guys. So let's do some tests now. So, exploration of new ideas. That is another thing you get from reading. Reading encourages you to think. Through reading, you can get new ideas and inspiration about something you previously knew. Stimulation of imagination and creativity. Yes, that is correct. Okay, a diverse reading culture will expose you to new ideas and help you develop the creative side of the brain as it imbibes innovation into your thinking. This is what I have been looking for. Yes, that is the question I'm trying to. No, this is not the question, but this one too is one of the questions. The question, but I remember this question vividly. So let's ask ourselves and test ourselves. A dash, a dash will expose you to new ideas and help you develop the creative side of the brain as it imbibes innovation into your thinking process. A diverse reading culture. It's like reading different types of books and works. Then when you read, it improves your memory. Improved focus and concentration is also part of the things you get when you read extensively. Strong analytical and thinking skills is developed through reading. The essential component of reading. Phonics. Phonics is all about your understanding the relationship between letters and their sounds. Phonics is all about your understanding the relationship between letters and their sounds. So I think that is very important. So let's ask ourselves. It is your ability to make the connection between the sounds that each letter represents in written language and the sound in spoken language. We have the phonemics. Phonemics refers to your ability to recognize and use individual sounds, which are called phonemes, to create words. And I think you've done this in English 1-1 this afternoon, that phonemes are the smallest units that make up the spoken language. We've done this in English 1-1. For those of you that are doing mass comm and you've written English 1-1 this today, you relate to this part of the material. So phonemic awareness and phonics could be seen as being related because both involve a connection between sound and letter or words. Sounds and letter or words. I have another question for us. Let's test ourselves now. That's another question. Okay, so we have, oh goodness, this thing again. Oh, why? I don't need you. I don't need to get out. Oh, no. Okay, I think I'll need to take it back a bit so we can get this thing cancelled. Why is it not leaving my screen? Is it by force to ask something now? Hi, Nico. We have a situation. Oh, what did I even press? And that was it was an error. I don't know why this thing is this complex like this. Is it by force to now? Is it by force to do subscription like this? Okay, I may need to close this page entirely, please. I may need to close the page entirely and open it again. I believe it's going to take us to where we stopped. So let's see, what are your answers to that question? What are your answers to that question? The last question was your answer to it, sounds and letters. Hey, somebody wrote those sounds and letters. Well, if they expect you to put slash words in the exam, put it to. Don't go and because of slash words fail that question. Okay, I don't know if it's like we jump something. We have jumped something. Ah, how did you get to assessment? Hey, from reading a lot. Ah, and we've passed here too. Oh, that means we are almost at assessment. After that reading and then you go to writing, then we are very close to. I'm not promising you guys to come back for any class, but I will just give you hints on how to prepare for the rest. This one you have tonight is enough. The rest is for you to, you know, do your best on getting your personal knowledge braced up. On as don't fail to read assessment. It's just like 4 or 5 pages. If you open your material, everything on assessment is no more than 4 or 5 pages. You can read it. Read assessment, then go back to the one that is talking about correspondence stage or whatever. That is module 1 under the history of ODL. Then under that module 1, that is where you talk about abbreviations a lot. You talk about abbreviations a lot. All these universities that were first established as ODL. Then you should let me explain the concept before we go. We have monomode and dual mode. As of before, we used to say that NOU, which is National Open University of Nigeria, is the only monomode ODL that we have in Nigeria. But we have this other one now. What's the name of this open university now? That they are only dealing with open learning. They are not doing conventional. I've forgotten their name. Sorry, their name. So when they say monomode means is only one. Yes, Miva, thank you. It's only one type of system they are running. So if it's only conventional, that means you are the type that you go to school, like all this Unilag, Uniosun, and the rest of them. Those are conventional monomode. But when you come to ODL, when we say a varsity is operating monomode, that means they don't have students coming to live on campus. The only one they do is open university. Like NOU is a monomode type of school. There is a question like that. So NOU is a monomode type of. But when you say dual mode, that is a university that has both conventional settings and also operate open university. So they have the two. We call them dual mode, from the knowledge of mono and dual. When generally when you hear mono, it means one, dual two. So please, that is very important. Those ones are just general knowledge. I just want to tip them in. Then in the early stage, when open learning was to start, or distance learning rather. Now distance learning and open learning, they are two different concepts. You understand? But now we now call it open and distance learning. So it has combined both distance and open learning together. So the first attempt for distance learning was by a man called Isaac Pittman. Those of you that did shorthand in secondary school, you will know the man called Pittman, because all of the textbooks you use for shorthand, he was the one that wrote it. So Isaac Pittman was the man that started teaching people through a distance. He was using mail then to teach people shorthand. So that was the first attempt. Then there are so many years in that material that you need to grab. Like the year that NOU started, 2002. The first one that was initiated then that later crashed, I think that was 1999 or so, whatever was then. Learn some of those years. Well, the thing is, you won't learn everything, but make sure you grab enough to help you pass your exam. That is the thing. So we have other things like assessment, the formative assessment, the summative assessment, and then under learner support services, we have the academic support service, and we have the non-academic support service. For the academic support services, we have example like defining the course territory. The role of the university in academic support is to provide resources. Those are general knowledge you should just know. So the role of the university is to provide materials, academic material. Then under academic support, defining the course territory and so on and so forth. Then under non-academic support, we have the advising, like the counseling and the rest of them. They all fall under non-academic. So because that is just to help your emotional life, or whatever, your health and the rest of them. So we also have another thing under that. We have the uh, under that learner support service, we have the systemic, I'm trying to remember that. So you guys should read the rest. Please, the material is not that long. I've covered a long part of it already. Try your best. A part you should not fail to read, like I mentioned again, make sure you read assessment and you read a bit of the what is it called, module 1, under the stages of ODL we have and the rest. You see that learner support service, you may not really dwell much on it. You don't really need to focus much on that. Well, I'd not say you should leave any part too, but if you know that there is no time, don't bother yourself on that one. If you read that module 1 very well, plus this one that we'll study together, plus learner support services, even if you are a dollar, you should be able to score 50 or 40 tomorrow. So help us God. Thank you guys, thank you for being here tonight. I myself am even exhausted, so I won't tell you guys, if please, if you know that you're already exhausted, go and sleep, don't read again. You understand? If you know that you are tired but like this, just go and read. There is one thing about general courses, whether you read and disturb yourself much, and the person that did not read anything, that just want to go and use general knowledge, in fact the person may likely score more than you that read and read and read and read and read. So it's not really all about overreading. I think you guys should understand that by now. It's not all about reading and overreading. Just make sure you gather enough knowledge that can help you to navigate the questions tomorrow. That is it. Have a wonderful night rest. I wish you guys luck. I want to see the A's tomorrow. Let's make this course the first one you will get your A's in. So try your best. Try your best. And the thing is, they will not go outside the material. I will not lie to you. NOU107 is just all about no. So everything will be within the material. The only thing is that you may not know the precise place yet, but don't expect anything outside the material. And God will help us. So I think I can rest now. Thank you all. Thank you. And thank you, especially Mr. Case, for your gift. And that other person that used to drop gift. I thank you guys. You are the one giving me data like this. Bye bye.